When I normally go into a shop, I might walk round and grab maybe a meal deal or something. I go to the checkout and swipe my card. Probably more than 99% of the time I pay like this. But I still think cash is important, so I've been trying to use more of it. But now I'm overflowing with change. That's why I'd like to 3D print a coin sorter. Step 1. Theory. I thought about designs and found myself deciding between 3 different styles of coin sorters. The slide style, the mechanical style, and the shaker style. These all work the same way. They have varying sized holes that filter the coins by size. The coins fall through these and end up in a container. Looking at our 3 types, we have the slide style coin sorter that works by sliding the coins down a ramp so they pass over their sorting holes and fall down. It's a simple and effective method, but it requires manual input. The mechanical style coin sorter, on the other hand, uses a mechanism that automatically pushes the coins over the sorting holes. It's a bit more complex, but can offer some hands-free sorting with a simple gravity hopper. Lastly, we have the shaker style coin sorter. This one relies on shaking the coins and letting them fall through a series of layers, each layer having decreasing size holes as they filter down. After consideration, I decided to go with the slide style coin sorter, mostly because of simplicity as well as the possibility to add automation with a hopper. Step 2. Prototyping. For this project I'll be using Blender as well as an add-on called CAD Sketcher. In principle, I'll be using this add-on to draw 2 circles, expand them to allow for a given tolerance, and then constrain them to an axis. This will then give me a boolean shape which I can then use to cut out of any object. So, hopping straight into Blender, I created a new sketch and started adding these 2 circles. I constrained the diameters of these and set each one to the diameter of a coin plus half a millimeter. I also constrained these so they aligned along one edge. Hopping out of the sketch, I added a solidify modifier. I can then make a basic shape around this and then use these 2 cylinders as a boolean to make the coin slots. I can then add 2 grooves to allow the coins to flow into the holes better, and that gives me this slide plate. I've added some pretty rubbish legs, but hopefully this is good enough just so I can print it and test that the tolerance of these holes are big enough to allow the coins through easily, and to make sure the bigger coins won't fall too early. I'll slice this model in Cura and then I'll send it to the printer. Here's a few different prototypes that I printed. We've got the main sorting slide piece here. We've got a few different coin holder designs. And then we've got these 2 little blocks which just test small standard threads and see how the printer can actually cope printing those. But if we test this first piece, we should pretty much just see the £2 fall through there, and then the £1 fall through this hole, and also the 10p should skim past this hole and fall through that same £2 slot. That works just fine. We've also got these 2 little parts which are just to test the actual diameters will hold the coins. And I've tested these, I know these work pretty well. And then I've also got these 2 which are just to test some threads, because I thought I'd have a screw-in holder design so you could actually remove, possibly store the coins as well. And the printer was able to print these threads no problem. And the only difference between these 2 parts is this one's just a slimmed up screw design, just reducing the size of those walls. And then with these 2, if you have a look at these top 2, these were printed with the threads, and you could probably screw these in to make them work, but they were very tight, so I just cleaned them up with a tap set, and then these are just to test the actual diameter of the overall bolt. And pretty much this just tells me that my printer slightly undersizes holes, which is something to be aware of when making the final design. Step 3. Design. To begin creating the actual coin sorter, all I had to do was expand on the prototype. So I made a new sketch including all the coin holes I needed. Then as before, I used this to cut away from a slide piece that I created. Next, I created a simple geometry node setup, which essentially acts as a transform modifier, with inputs for location, rotation and scale. If I open a new panel, I can show you the setup. As you can see, it's pretty simple. You have inputs here, and they all go into a combined XYZ node. And those all feed into the inputs on a transform node. That's it. But this just made it easy for me to non-destructively position the slide piece, so I can build the rest of the sorter around it while still being able to edit the piece while it's laying flat or while it's aligned in place. And this works with booleans too, depending if they're before or after this transform modifier. The next stage was to create a piece that connects the slide to the containers. I went through a few iterations like this one that I wasn't happy with. I ended up creating this model using curves for cylindrical parts. I created a rectangle around it and used a series of subdivide, shrink wrap and smooth modifiers to create this, which I think looks a lot better and organic. I then added holes for the coins to fall down. I did this by adding a curve that follows the centre of where the hole should be and set the bevel depth value to slightly larger than the coin. I repeated this for the other 7 and used these as booleans to cut away from the larger shape. Now I just needed to add threads for the coin holders to screw into. For this I used another add-on called Bolt Factory. This adds a new option for bolts when adding a mesh. It comes with a set of standard bolt sizes, but for this I used my own values. Using these as booleans at the base of the holes, and with a bit of cleanup and a nice bevel, it was done. The last parts to create were the coin holders. I used a bolt mesh as a base for this, changed the sizes, and set the thread length to 10mm. In edit mode I then deleted the bottom and capped it off, went to the top and deleted these faces. Filled with a single face, inset and extruded down. This was the base of the coin holders. I then finished them off cutting away some windows, modelling some counting markers and adding some text. For the text, I created some simple models that should print well in any orientation. This was simply done by adding some text, tracing it with a curve, solidifying this, beveling the top edges and cleaning them up. I could then create a curve along any edge and add a curve deform modifier to the text so that it followed the shape of the object. I used the same curve method to add text to the coin holders and to add text to the piece between the slide plate and the holders. With only the finishing touches left, I added legs, used more boolean objects to create fixing places, and split this model ready for printing. And there we have the finished design, if it works. Step 4. Print and assemble. If you like this video so far, and you like the animations at the start, I'll be starting a Patreon where I'll post these scene files for you to look at. I'll also post other scene files, assets and all sorts of stuff as I create them with Blender. If you want to support me so I can make more videos, there will be a link in the description. And thank you to anyone that does this. Finished product. So here is the finished coin sorter, and to be honest, I'm actually really pleased with how it turned out. I like the design, I like the text I've added and the cutouts on these tubes, and overall I think it turned out really well. On the print there was a few imperfections, like on these tubes there's a bit of under extrusion, there's a bit of stringing, but overall it's pretty good. And straight off the bat I can already see, you know, something where I could have improved. These legs are a little too flimsy, they're a little wobbly, especially when you add coins in this. It adds weight, and those legs could just be beefed up a little bit. But I've got some coins here and I'm going to feed them in and show you how it works. I've been testing it a bit and it's about, I'd say it's 90% there. It could do with a bit of improvement, but we'll start putting some in. See, there you go. This top slide plate just takes the coins down a bit fast, and it's at such an angle this way that the coins sometimes hop off rather than fall in. And there you can see that my tolerances are also just a little bit too tight on some of these. But if I bring this forward and then decrease the angle, this is an improvement I could make later just by changing the legs or the angle of this plate. It just makes it work so much better. But this 1p, my tolerance was just slightly too tight on that one. On some of these they're a little too tight. Ooh. And where it gets stuck, it looks like it goes past this blue plate and gets stuck on the grey piece, and the tolerance really there doesn't need to be that tight. That's just funneling the coins into these holders. So I could really increase the size of these so it doesn't get stuck there. But there you go, it's the finished coin sorter, and I would say if I was to improve those legs and that, or that angle of that plate, it would work, I would say 98-90% perfect. With how it is, I'm a little disappointed that it doesn't work, you know, but these are all improvements you make. This is the first print since the prototype, so there's bound to be a few little kinks, you know, and some reprints. But there you have it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you want to take a look at the coin sorter, I'll probably leave a project file so you can take a look at the design, possibly print it yourself. Well, it doesn't work perfectly, but you can make some adjustments. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.